10 a.m. until 2 p.m. We'll be out on the bandstand. It's a free community event. You know, we love this event. All the Oxford Lions will be out there to meet the community. Bring your children. If you like the Easter Bunny and you're not a child, come out and see the Easter Bunny anyway. And we always invite your donations. We're going to have pictures available this year that you can take home with you with the Easter Bunny, popcorn, and we just have some added events, features to the event this year that's going to be a lot of fun. So again, it's an annual event, and we really appreciate the support that you give us, and we love coming out to do this each and every year. Do you have any questions at all? Or?
I just have a question to the clerk. Madam Clerk, is this posted? I know we usually post it on the local access channel.
Yeah, I believe it has been on the scroll.
Okay.
Which is nice. And just if I can just take a second, you know, we have a couple of things on our agenda that I'd just like to share with everyone. One of the things that the Oxford Lions Club is trying to raise money for currently is to raise money for blind individuals in Oxford who would need a certain receiver to hear the audio radio journal radio station, which is a station out of Worcester that reads the local news to the blind. And if you think about it, you know, you'd say, well, you can turn on the TV and hear the news, even if you're vision impaired. But what you don't hear is the local news. You don't hear what's happening in Oxford with maybe the sports teams or the obituaries. You don't hear what's on sale at Kmart or Price Choppers. You know, so it's a very valuable service. So we're trying to buy the receivers. They're about $200 to $250. So that's one of our fundraising activities that is on our agenda. And what I like to do right now is, if you're registered with the Commission for the Blind, is to contact me at my office or the Oxford Lions Club. I don't, even as an eye doctor, I don't have privilege to that information. You have to actually come forward if you are registered with the Commission for the Blind. There's a lot of services that are available. I met with the commissioner not too long ago, and there's a lot of services that many people who are blind or visually impaired don't know that they're eligible for. So that's one of our projects, is in this regard, to work with the radio station to buy the receivers, and again, at the same time, you know, hook up with people that are registered for the Commission for the Blind, or if you are blind or you know someone or a relative that is and might benefit from being registered, please contact me and I can register you for the Commission for the Blind. So that's one of our main projects that we just want to let you know. So coming out to the Easter Bunny on Saturday, you know, if you can give us a donation, whatever you feel comfortable with, that helps us with our projects. So that's what's on board this Saturday.
Very good.
Okay?
Well, I hope you have, and Selectman said.
Yeah, just a question to what you've just mentioned about the Commission for the Blind. Mm-hmm. In order to be registered for that, maybe it would be good if you could explain how you are eligible. I know that there are some people that aren't totally blind.
Right.
Are these people eligible? There are people with glaucoma who are partially blind.
The criteria is you are, and I know the lingo is a little confusing, you have to have vision of 2200, which is, if you can relate to the biggie on the visual chart, you have to just about be able to see that with your best correction. That doesn't mean if you take off your glasses or your contacts you can't see the E. That's at best corrected. So that's really the main criteria, is having vision, best correctable vision to 2200, which is pretty severe. So that's actually being vision impaired. You see light and you see some non-detail. And then naturally there are people that are full blind, which is no light perception or live in darkness, have no perception of light at all. So that's the criteria. I'm glad you brought that up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know if you've been in touch with Access Oxford, but this may be something that maybe,
yeah.
okay, I was going to
We're
suggest that
actually-
maybe you could have a, you know, a discussion or a round table and have it
Exactly. We're
featured.
trying to get everyone involved because the radio station actually would like to hook into Access Oxford. And probably what they do in Charlton right now, hate to say another town has a jump on us, but they do. So we have to bring it to Oxford. They hook into the channel that, like we have the scroll, channel 12. So while the scroll is going, they voice over and read the news. So that's the station that they use there, and that is the area that the journal is looking to hook into the public TV here. So we
Great.
are trying to work on that project.
Very good.
Again, thanks for bringing that up.
Good.
Lots on the agenda. And just a reminder, the Community Volunteer Awards Dinner is May 3rd with the Oxford Lions Club. Get your nomination letters in, please. I know by now a lot of the community organizations have received a letter from us, so by April 1st, we're looking forward to having some nice choices to make, again, on behalf of the Oxford Lions Club.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you, Dr. Carver.
Thank you so much. And if you don't celebrate Easter, just come see the Pink Button.
Okay, the next item on the agenda, we have a Sutton Ave accident analysis update by the town engineer planner, David Manugian. Good evening, Mr. Manugian. I see that you've got a presentation set up for the board tonight, so without further ado, and I will just point out that I have recognized that there are residents here from the neighborhood involved in Park Street and who have great interest in this subject matter. While this isn't a public hearing, it came out tonight. After he's done, if you have any questions, I'm certainly going to give you leave to ask any questions or make any comments. And I know Mr. Manugian is going to make this announcement, but there is a public hearing before the planning board on Monday, March 24th, so I'd encourage you to go to that as well, without further delay.
Great, thank you, Madam Chair. I have two items on the agenda tonight. One is to give a brief update on what the research we've done for the Sutton Avenue traffic accident analysis, and second, I'm working on the police station team, and there are a number of people here tonight to present information on that. So I'll give my presentation first and then introduce the police presentation. We have been collecting information regarding accidents along Sutton Ave, and then also looking at a bigger picture of traffic in the southern portion of the town. The intent follows along with the intent working with the DPW director and the town manager of taking an opportunity to step back, look at data that's been collected regarding traffic in town and accidents in town, doing some analysis of that, looking for opportunities to mitigate some of these issues as they come up, and have that data available for use at that time. So it's kind of a low-key approach. We're not recommending going out to get studies done by consultants at this time. We're really trying to take advantage of what's already been done, look at the information, compile it, and then come up with some conclusions. So as part of that, what we've done is compile existing traffic counts, primarily put together from Mass Highway, look at traffic accident data, specifically along Sutton Ave over the last 5 years, look at existing traffic reports prepared by other consultants and other regional planning organizations, and come up with some preliminary recommendations. So one of the things we start with is looking at the town as a whole, traffic coming through Oxford, coming off of I-395, heading to I-395. One of the items that was brought up was traffic coming from the Sutton Ave exit and heading down Charlton Street into Charlton. So what we did was we put together a map of the town to look at different portions, different areas in town. And this is just a quick map here. Here's 395, Mass Pike, Route 12, Main Street, and then right here is Charlton Street and Sutton Ave. So tonight, we're just going to focus in on Charlton Street and Sutton Ave to look at the information there. And specifically, what I've put together is Mass Highway traffic counts. Because what we wanted to do was say, look, do we really have a lot of traffic getting off 395, going through the center of town, and then heading out to Charlton? So I called the Charlton town planner and said, have you seen a lot of development in that portion of Charlton over the last few years that would suggest that traffic is coming through Oxford to get to town? And in fact, he said, not really. The development in Charlton over the last few years has been distributed through the town. If anything, we're seeing more development along the Route 20 corridor, the north portion of town, for commercial, which is similar to what we're seeing as well. And what we found is, although you have about 10,000 or 11,000 cars getting onto Charlton Street from the Route 12 Sutton Ave interchange right downtown here, by the time you get to Dudley Road, a good portion of them are heading south towards Dudley, and you're left with about 5,700. And by the time you get to the Charlton line, it's down to about 4,600. So the information available suggests that the traffic at this point still may be local, and there's a large portion going to Dudley, almost as many going to Dudley as going to Charlton. So that was an interesting piece of information we found. So then we wanted to focus back in on the Sutton Ave area and see what the traffic accident data is really telling us. So what we did was we got information from the police station regarding traffic accidents on Sutton Ave over the last 5 years. We have an intern right now, Courtney Rowe, who did a great job compiling it into some graphics to summarize those accidents. So that's what I'd like to show you now. What we did was we put together some graphics identifying the 3 primary types of accidents we feel are related to the layout of Sutton Ave. So there were a couple other accidents related to some snow. There was a bicycle accident. We kind of excluded those. We focused really on people taking a left turns out onto the street and getting hit by traffic on the road. People taking left turns into an establishment, getting hit by traffic on the road, and then people getting hit from behind. What we found was, of any one accident type, in any one year, there were no more than 4 accidents. So we then characterized them by saying, okay, let's consider 1 accident a year, low occurrence. Those are our green numbers. 2 accidents a year, medium occurrence. Those are our orange or yellow. And 3 or 4 would be red. We then took that information, assigned the geographic location of the accident, and plotted them out on this plan. So as you look at it, you may see that there's a couple different areas. Dunkin' Donuts off of Park Street, people coming out, people going in. Right by Valley Green and the railroad tracks, people are slowing down, getting hit from behind, people coming out and getting hit. And then the Honey Farms, McDonald's, Town Bank area. So what we then did was, we did this analysis for the last 5 years, 2003, 2004, 2005, 2006, and 2007. And what was interesting to us is that the accidents seem to cluster in these same locations every year. Similar types of accidents in similar locations. So, what does that mean? We want to start looking at those locations, seeing what we can do to deal with mitigating them. There's one other factor that I will add now. When we're looking at a traffic analysis, we're looking at the location of the accidents, the type of accident, but also the severity of the accident is important as well. None of these accidents have been resulted in death or even life-threatening as far as we know. So that consideration comes into play when we're dealing with this, such that there's not a situation here that we've identified as immediately life-threatening based on the geometry of the road. There are situations where there are a large number of accidents, and we want to look for opportunities to try to mitigate those accident situations. One opportunity we feel has come to us in the Dunkin' Donuts expansion. As part of their expansion, they're doing a traffic study. I've spoken with the traffic engineer there and asked them to consider these accidents as they're clustered. We've sent them our data and we've said, look, these are the issues that we see out there. As part of this expansion, what can you do to help us resolve these issues? So we've talked about the traffic accidents around Dunkin' Donuts, the clustering of accidents around Honey Farms, McDonald's, and then the accidents around here. So in conclusion, one of the things we're looking at right now, well actually I'll step back one more. There have been a number of other reports that we have available to us and to these traffic engineers to analyze the traffic in that area. We've already used the Mass Highway data, and we've used the, let's go back one. The Oxford Transportation Study, we use that for some of our traffic counts. Home Depot has done a traffic study for the other side of I-395, the eastern side. We're hoping that Dunkin' Donuts can provide us a comparable study on the western side of 395. Cullinan Engineering has already put together some traffic conceptual improvements. You're familiar with the median barrier idea related to a little rotary or traffic circle in the center of town. And now Dunkin' Donuts is putting together the information. So what we're trying to do here is continue to collect this information and have it available to do analysis. We want to work with Dunkin' Donuts, give them the information and say, look, do some work for us. Look at these issues, see if you can try to resolve some of them, come up with some suggestions that we can work with. And then we've also contacted the mobile honey farms and the McDonald's to talk to them about the possibility of a joint driveway across from Walcott, I believe, so that we could control the entrance and exit out of there instead of having a number of different entrances and exits. So that's basically what I wanted to present tonight, and certainly I would welcome any questions.
Thank you. Board members, questions, comments? Selectman Lamountain?
David, you had talked about Dunkin' Donuts in their plan. Can you elaborate on that a little bit, please?
Sure. Dunkin' Donuts has come to us recently with a plan to expand their facility. They'd like to make the actual store a little bigger, provide more storage there, and expand their parking lot. Parking lot would be expanded for two purposes. One, more parking for people going into the store, but also to significantly increase the queuing line for people going through the drive-thru. They recognize that there is a traffic problem there. They've hired a traffic engineer to look at traffic issues, and we haven't seen a report from them yet, but I have talked with him about the issues that we see from the town's perspective. They will be presenting to the planning board on Monday the 24th at 8:30. That will open the public hearing. Pretty sure things will not be resolved in one meeting. So we anticipate working with them. We certainly welcome the public comments at that meeting at that time.
A follow-up to that. As far as an exit and entrance goes, they're still continuing to look at Sutton Avenue and not Park Street, correct?
That's right. Their primary exit and entrance, their only exit and entrance they're proposing at this time is on Sutton Avenue. On their plans, they have expressed an interest in grading the site such that at some future time, they may have an entrance or exit onto Park Street. It's not proposed at this time. We haven't reviewed that yet as to the feasibility or whether it would be allowed based on their previous permitting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Selectman Cronin?
Thank you, David. I thank you for the great presentation. The visuals really helped on that. Looking at your data and looking at the numbers, you see this high volume, as you noted, traffic coming from Charlton. I don't know if you have the data here, or if maybe the chief could expound on it a little bit. Do we see a high number of accidents on Charlton Street as the same number that we see on Sutton Avenue?
That's a good question.
No, we don't. We do have accidents on Charlton Street, as of every other street, especially in Dudley Road.
Yes.
Dudley Road, Charlton Street, probably mirror streets in that aspect, but nowhere near the volume as Sutton.
With the stop and go traffic, because you do have the residents coming out from all the side streets filling onto from your Dudley Roads, from your Charlton Street and going through. Do we see a lot of accidents, and I couldn't tell from there, in the Park Street area? I know we see it with Dunkin' Donuts, but attributed to just, I know the residents in those areas have to wait forever to get out with the line of traffic going by. But are the accidents, I guess I'm saying, caused by the businesses, or do we see some coming from the side streets trying to cut their way through?
I think you could probably safely say it's the businesses.
Safely say it's a business. There we go. That's good, and I'm glad that Dunkin' Donuts and the other, hopefully, business owners get that message on how they can cooperate to make their businesses safe, so people will continue, as people use them, but they want to continue using them, because eventually people will find alternatives. Great, thank you.
Thank you. Selectman Sad?
I think the presentation was excellent, and it mirrors a lot of the information that we already know. But however, it is good to see the visual because it gives you a greater understanding of the impact over that 5-year period, which is very good. This is all well and good, but I think the most important point now is, now that we have all this information, what do we do about it? You've talked about the Cullinan engineering plan, you've talked about other plans that were done by Home Depot, the list goes on. Okay, by gathering all that information, do you have any recommendations for us as what we should do in the immediate future? We have kicked around the possibility of temporary barriers along Sutton Avenue at certain junctures. Do you have any recommendations in regard to that?
As far as the immediate future, my thoughts at this point, my recommendation at this point is that we should wait and see what the Dunkin' Donuts traffic engineer comes up with, to kind of take advantage of their dollar to see what their analysis comes up with and proposes, then we can see how that fits in with the issues that we've identified. Once that's resolved, I could report back to you, and perhaps it would tackle some of the areas along the road where there are issues, and then we could focus on the other areas. So it's kind of a low-key approach, waiting till we get their report, incorporating that into our information, and then moving forward to look at the other areas based on what they propose and how that might affect those other areas.
Okay. And to continue, if I could, Madam Chair, let's move a little further towards the center of town, the intersection. As part of this study, what is your recommendation to take care of the four-way intersection? We have the road that is, like the manager says, it's a corduroy road, for lack of another expression. I think it's true. You ride over that, and it's like you're riding over corduroy. Any plans on that?
Right now, for the intersection, we're still looking at options. What we've found is, as the DPW director and the town manager mentioned, the road itself is in deterioration and needs some repairs. As far as longer-term planning, when we started working with the state, because that intersection is under a traffic management agreement with the state, we are coordinating our efforts with Mass Highway. Mass Highway right now is pushing very strongly these traffic circles to the point where they're prepared to fund the entire design and construction of it, saving the town perhaps $100,000. However, there's a number of issues related to that regarding whether it's really feasible in the center of town. As a planner, I have feelings about it as well, where we have strong, straight sight lines running down Main Street, and to intercept that with a traffic circle, I think there's issues there as well.
Well, I think there's big issues there, and I think that a good percentage of the population of this community would be opposed to anything like that. Believe me, I don't care if the state gives us $50 million. This is one selectman that will not vote for a rotary in the center of Oxford. That's all I have.
Don't get me started on the roundabout. Yeah, they're gonna give us, they're gonna supply the revenue with the casinos, right? I just had a question with respect to what we can do in the short term, because I know that we were waiting for the season to change, and we're gonna try some temporary pylons, and I appreciate all this data collecting and analysis, and I wanna thank Ms. Rowe for her time. Chief, this is more to the chief. At rush hours, especially in the morning, it seems that there has been a greater police presence on Sutton Avenue in the railroad track parking lot, I guess, where Dr. Papandreou's office is. It seems that there's a police cruiser there more often than I recall in the past. And I was wondering if we could make some effort in the short term, because that slows people down. I mean, if they know that the cruiser's there at rush hour, they're not going to be flying up and down Sutton Avenue, whether it's in the evening or in the morning. And likewise, on Main Street, where you see, if you stand out at the Four Corners out here at 5:30, I mean, you see, I can't even tell you how many near accidents. I'm sure we've all stood on the corner to hold our own signs during election season or somebody else's election, and it's just amazing how fast people drive through that intersection in cars trying to take a left onto Charlton Street. What can we do as far as your department to maybe enhance the police presence in that area on a routine basis and really issue tickets? I mean, really put the foot down, and if you have the same offenders, which I think you do at that time of day, I mean, most of the people are local, you know, they're going to slow down.
The problem comes in is we have,
Yes, please.
we have our Center Patrol. Center Patrol is in charge of the entire, whether it's morning, afternoon, or night. The Center Patrol area, that's their area of patrol. So it comes in, the problem comes in is when they have a call. They're going to be here a lot of the time, because this is their patrol, but their patrol runs, the Center Patrol runs from the Charlton line down to probably, Brooks, probably closer to the center, but near the Brooks area, all the way down to the Sutton line. So every call that they have, they park there, they write the ticket, and as soon as they get a call, whether Orchard Hill or back up in other offices, because we have to send 2 officers to just about every call. So every time that we get a call, we send 2 officers. It's the center patrol that generally backs up the north guy when he needs it, and he backs up the south guy when he needs it. So actually, the center patrol is probably out of his jurisdiction or out of his area of patrol more than anybody else. So that's the problem with command. And it would matter, probably make a point to probably hire somebody that could be there during the rush hours. Then you're talking, minimum manpower, overtime, that type of thing. So we'd have to look into community policing grant, that money.
Yeah. And what I'm thinking is, I mean, this is all about, a controlled experiment using data analysis over certain periods and certain circumstances and trying to identify what the problem areas are. Even if that's something that we could look at on a temporary basis, if we did that for a period of 3 months, and then we looked at that data and said, wow, everybody's slowing down, this is working. We've issued, 100 tickets, and this seems to be working. If it's a policing experiment that maybe pay for itself or just make the town safer, if that's something that costs a little bit more money, I'm not advocating for that, but if we could identify that it was effective, and I think that it would be, I think that that's something that we should look at. And even if it's just, like I said, even if it's for a period of months, and then we give the data to our experts, and they say, yeah, it's effective, that'd be something that I would like to, look into. I don't know if it's a grant or, with the ticket proceeds, does that go right into the town?
Back to the town.
Back to the town?
Half of it.
Half of it. Okay, so, I don't know, could you give that some thought? I mean, I didn't have a chance to speak to you about it prior to the night, so.
We could talk, and I could talk. Hey, Sergeant Satcher? Yes. So we could talk later about that, absolutely, about some saturation patrol or something of that nature down there. If it was one time during the day, it would be very easy. Since it's morning and
Evening.
it makes it a little bit more difficult to pick one or the other. What we probably could do is maybe one day in the morning, next day in the afternoon, one day in the morning, that type of deal. We could split it off a little bit. This is something we can work on.
Good. Thank you. Selectman Sad?
No,
I'm sorry, Selectman Glant?
Didn't Home Depot also do a traffic study at the center of town?
Good question. I'm not sure. I'll check the records.
Joe,
on that,
didn't they
'cause I
do a
don't-
traffic study
The
here?
traffic study recommended not only the traffic light at the entrance, but the change in the island just in front of the town hall, and the right turn only lane heading north on Main Street, and just past CVS, and some timing.
So what would be
They made
different
some-
about the Dunkin' Donuts traffic study? Other than adding a couple years to it, but would you see a big difference in the study? Because I know you say there haven't been any fatalities or really serious accidents, but I'd like to have something done before that does happen, and we've been talking about this for years. How long do you project that this will happen? Something will happen there.
What we saw was that over the last 5 years, the total number of accidents has dropped slightly. Of the accident categories we looked at, 2003 and 2004, they're around 40. 2005, 2006, there were, I think, 35 and 34. In 2007, there were 30. So the accidents have dropped off a little bit. The same types of accidents are happening in the same locations each year. So I do agree that unless we do something, human nature is not going to change, and people are going to be making the same driving decisions in the same locations.
And this is all from McDonald's to the center of town? These,
Right.
because I know there are accidents also further down Sutton Avenue. I think that has more to do with speed than
Oh,
anything
okay,
else. But
on the east side
the
of,
30 and 40 are from
from
McDonald's.
I-395
It's a very
to
short-
Route 12.
Space to have 30 or 40 accidents in here, but, okay, thank you, that's all.
Did anybody from the neighborhood, anybody want to ask any questions or make any comments? Yes, Ms. Douse, would you come forward, just so everybody at home can hear the question, the comment? Yep, right here, sorry.
I just have one question. When do you expect the Dunkin' Donuts proposal to be into you?
They have already submitted plans, and we do have a copy here, and you're welcome to come by and take a look. Their full information we hope to get at the public meeting on Monday night, and so that
Okay.
would be available.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? I mean, yes, sir. Don't feel that you have to, but, you know, you're certainly welcome to.
Richard Hudson at 6 Park Street. Basically, I think our concern as some of the residents is more that when we look at the plan, the driveway's there. And we fought this the last 13 years ago when they moved in. And that was the thing that we held out for, is no driveway. And all I see is moving what you've been showing here tonight up to Park Street. There's a good amount of homes on that street. I want to say 80 maybe, 60. And it's residential and there's school buses. And so now you're going to have two kinds of traffic. So that'll be what we as residents of Park Street will be fighting, along with hoping that it aesthetically.
Thank you. Okay, are there any more questions or comments? If not, I will, I think Mr. Manugian's got some additional data and work to do on this. I thank you for the presentation. It is informative to us, and it's good to know that it is being worked on, and hopefully we can come up with some solutions that are satisfactory to the neighbors. I know the planning board will be working on this and makes the area a little safer. So thank you for your efforts, and I will move on to the next agenda item, having said that. Okay, looks like all of the players are here. The next item on the agenda is Police Station Project Presentation. The architect, John McMillan, the Chief Ross is here, and again, the town engineer planner, David Manugian.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have 3 pieces to this presentation. The police chief will give the first piece of the presentation, then the architect, and then the town will finish up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you very much for allowing me the opportunity to come here. I guess the first part of the process is to tell you why we need a police station. I guess that can be, there's so many problems with it right now, it's sort of hard to know where to begin. When I first come on, the police station was relatively new. It was built in 1970, finished in 1971. As you're probably aware, I know Mr. Sad's aware, the present location was the site of the remodeled police station when it burnt in 1969 and 1970. It was quickly rebuilt and constructed in quite a hurry because they needed a location to be in. It was done on a shoestring, and it was done without a whole lot of planning into the design of the building itself. When it was built back in '71, it was pretty inadequate at that time for a police facility. We had approximately 8 to 10 officers at the time. It's a 4,000 square foot building. It's about the size of a large house that we have now 27 people working inside that building. The building really, like I said, wasn't adequate back then to house the 8 people, and it's severely inadequate at the moment for the 27 we have. One of the problems we have when we talk to people is convincing them that we need a new police station, because when you drive by the facility, it looks like a nice building. It was well constructed on the outside, so as far as that goes, it takes a little bit of convincing until you get on the inside, and that's where the problems really exist. The building itself has very little parking. The officers park with the people that come to do business, whether it be the bad people or the many good people that we have come to do business at our police station. But one of the most important faults of that police station, something that's always been a thorn in our side, is the lack of access to the building, meaning specifically the lack of access with prisoners as opposed to the people that come to do business on a daily basis. What we like to have in a police facility is a very segregated area that the prisoners will come in and have absolutely no contact with the person that comes in to have his picture taken for his pistol permit. Our police station is quite the opposite. Prisoner's location, the booking room, is actually doubles as the facility where you come to have your pistol permit picture taken. Theoretically, we have people under arrest, prisoners under arrest, with people there to do business in a lawful manner. If that's the case, we have to stop the process. They have to wait outside. We have to, takes an hour to 2 hours to book a prisoner. By the time we get them put back in the cell, we're then allowed to take the person back into and finish the pistol permit process, because we cannot have them commingled in that common area of the police station. There's no way of segregating any of them. Another area is, of a problem comes into to sight is when we're actually taking the person out of the police cruiser. We have to do so outside in full view of the public. Things happen. People, I know a lot of people think that everybody does not, or nobody minds being arrested, but that's not the case. Most people do not enjoy being handcuffed and placed in a cruiser and brought into the station. It would create some very dicey situations, to say the least. That's a big problem. There are no segregated lockups in our facility. By law, we have to have adult women and adult males segregated by sight and sound. We have 3 cells, they're in one area. We can't do that. We arrest a woman and we arrest a man, we have to make arrangements to take one or the other to another location. We can't take them both and lock them, house them both at our police station. By law, they have to be sight and sound segregated. We have no juvenile facility. Right now, we have a juvenile, we have, again, it has to be sight and sound segregated. We have to put them in our radio room with an officer to sit in a chair in a communications room where everything is going on to watch this person. It's just, it doesn't, it's not a good process whatsoever. There are no real locker facilities, locker room facilities. Right now, we have about 25 lockers that we got secondhand from the high school, I believe. We had them repainted about 20 years ago. They were student lockers. There's no room in these lockers to put your gear. You can't put your uniform, you can't put your coat, can't put your gun belt in these lockers. They're not big enough to house all your equipment. A third of the lockers that we have are contained in the men's room slash, we used to be shower room, but the showers don't work, so we have to use that for storage at the moment. But a third of the lockers contained in there, a third of the lockers are contained in the conference room, and a third of the lockers are contained in the garage. So when you come into work, you have to change in the garage. That's not a very good setup either. The locker room, the men's locker room, is right outside the interrogation room. The door swings open, you have a family in there that you're interviewing, and you have officers changing shifts right outside that door. That creates a very large problem. Number one, if they're in there before you get in, you can't go in and change, you can't go home. At the end of the shift, you have to wait until they're done either interviewing the person, or you have to interrupt the interview process. They're not segregated as a new police station, a new facility is designed to do. Right now, the showers do not operate. They haven't for quite some time. We use them now because we need them for storage, so some filing cabinets are in one. And as I told you before, the lockers are not designed, not big enough to put the police equipment in, so we have, the officers hang their coats. They have a rack that they hang their winter coats, because that's the only place that they actually, to put them. There are no women's locker facilities at all. There's one woman's bathroom, no women's locker room. I think you can see where the problem would come in there. There's no place in the building whatsoever to meet with the entire department. And I was talking to Selectman Glant this morning and relaying her to this, that the last time we had a department meeting was this summer. I wanted to meet with the entire department to go over, basically what our mission statement was, and we had to get space over the senior center just so I can speak to the entire department. We have no space big enough to have everybody in that police department to sit down and to discuss ideas and talk about things, where we want to go as a police department and what we can do for the town. I've had some discussion recently, again, I was talking to Selectman Gallant this afternoon about, she wanted to know why it was needed, why we needed 2 lunch rooms or break rooms. she saw the two break rooms on the plan, and I explained to her that one of the break rooms and a lunchroom is off the locker room area, the private area for the police officers in our new police station. Right now, the dispatchers are contained in one room, about 10 by 12, 8 hours a day. They can't leave. They have to eat their lunches there, at their desk, while they're working. They don't get a break. They're not able to go outside and stretch. They're not able to go if they, having a smoke or whatever it may be, just to take a break for 15 minutes. They're not allowed to do that because they have to watch, somebody has to be there available at that emergency phone 24/7. We can't leave. The new station will have a bathroom facility right off the dispatch area, and believe it or not, there will be a phone in that bathroom area, because it was relayed to me that one thing we ought to consider when I was asking around was, at 3 o'clock in the morning, when you're by yourself and you have to use the facilities, you have to use the facilities. You can't be away from that phone. It's the most important thing. So we'll have a phone in there. Right now, they have to call an officer in off the road to come in and watch the radio while they use the facilities. I think we can see that that's just not very productive. The heating system is 1970 electric baseboard heat. I say no more. There are no handicap facilities within the department. We have a handicap ramp. It leads to a door that you'll never be able to open if you're in a wheelchair. You go to a hallway about 6 feet by 4 feet to another door that I have trouble opening. Once you get in the building, there is no handicap bathrooms inside the building. When you go to our police station, the waiting room is one bench. You go in, sit in the waiting room. That bench is located within the office space of the police department, the business space of the police department. Obviously, a lot of business, when you're in a police department, there's a lot of sensitive information that goes out that people would not like to have spoken about them in open air. And this happens because we invite the public into our business area. That shouldn't happen. The sergeants right now have to share an office with the detective. The court office was a closet. We literally opened up the closet and put the court officer with all his evidence in that room. The room is, I think it's 7 by 11. That contains every arrest. We do between 300 and 400 arrests and take in approximately 1,200 pieces of evidence a year. It contains in that small area. A huge problem. Our evidence that we have to collect on a daily basis does not go into the evidence collection. There is no facility for that. There's no locked facility for that. If an officer comes in with a piece of evidence, such as drugs or a gun or a knife or DNA samples, they go into a old locked mailbox in the garage. That's the only place we can put it. Obviously, that's a huge problem. The storage situation, we have to rent a box from Eagle Leasing that's in the back of our station because we have no room for storage at all. If you have somebody in the sergeant's area, if the detective is speaking to somebody in his office, the sergeant can no longer use that office. He has to wait to use his own office until the detective has done his business. So that's basically, there are many other problems. Those are just a few of the major problems that we have at that police station. Again, the station has lasted us since 1971. It probably structurally will last longer. It's just so inadequate for our needs right now in the 21st century that it becomes a hindrance to our work as a police department. We have a couple pictures that if Mr. Menugian can show us. This right here is the area that I was speaking to on the interrogation / locker room / equipment room / lunch room. That table right there was a secondhand table, was given to us. We use that for all four.
Can you split it?
All four things that when we conduct business inside the police station. This is the men's room. To the left, you can see a door on the left with a coat hanging there. That's what I was telling you about the shower situation. To the right of that, there is approximately 7 lockers. We're able to fit 7 lockers in that area right there. That's another view of that same area. Another view of that same area. This is the garage. As you can see, there's about 8 lockers contained out there that's where the officers have to change in the garage. That's another view of the garage. And that's it, that's the design. But as you can see, the space situation, I don't think, again, that the issue is need, or the issue is if, but as much as when. Right now, I'd like to turn it over to the architect, Mr. John McMillan, and he could tell you about the new station design. Thank you.
Thank
Do you have any
Chief.
questions?
Well, that's what I was going to ask, if any of the board members had any question, maybe we could have each presentation, then if there are any questions that are germane to that section of it, we could, does anybody have any questions for the chief, or you want to wait until it's completed, the presentation? No? Okay. You sure? You're off the hook for now. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is John McMillan. I'm an architect and principal with Reinhardt Associates. We started working with the town of Oxford on a new police facility. We began with a feasibility study early last year, and we proceeded to town meeting last fall, where we won approval for the continuation of the design, so that we could bring a design and a construction bid to the May town meeting. And here tonight to bring you up to speed on where we are, the status of the project, and a look at the budget, and where we go from here. Behind me, we have a PowerPoint slide. We are about 2 weeks or so from going out to bid. This is basically like a 99% complete working drawing. I don't want to take up everyone's time, but I can explain this in a little bit in detail, although it's a little fuzzy. But basically, the building's about 1,400 square feet on the first floor. There is some bonus attic space occurring underneath the roof trusses, which is about 5,900 square feet. So overall, the facility is about 20,000 square feet, but about 6,000 square feet of it is raw, unbuilt space. It's there for future expansion. The building is designed so that there's separation of public and private and secure functions in the building. Coming in the lobby, you are held back by locked doors. You have the dispatch area and the administration surrounding the lobby. You do have public bathrooms, and you have access to a large meeting space. The meeting space is designed to function both for the department, and also because the department doesn't use it all the time they don't have large meetings all the time, it's also available for community use. One of the intentions is to provide a secure meeting space for about 30 people maximum or so, 30, maybe even squeezing 40. So you could have hearings or meetings, or certain boards could convene there for another accessible, secure meeting space. That when you go in there, you're really not allowed to go and proceed any further into the more secure areas of the police. That's why it's gathered around the front entrance. Dispatch is the gatekeeper. As I mentioned, this side is administrative, the chief, the administrative assistant, some offices. Records is here, so if you have a records request, you're right on the lobby. Practically all your business can be conducted while you do not have to leave the lobby. And so therefore, an officer doesn't have to escort you through the rest of the facility, and that maintains the security. As the chief mentioned, there is lots of privacy concerns. I would say that a police building is a building of doors. There's lots of rooms, lots of doors, lots of locks in a police building, and that's why you see this thing so compartmentalized. One of the very nice features of this design is the fact that on the patrol side, the officer side, all of their functions are grouped together right off the back entrance to the building. There's a carport. They would come in, they have their locker facilities, their squad room, report writing, lunch. The sergeants are right there watching over the back entrance, and also short distance backing up dispatch. The booking is over here, booking detectives and evidence. There's a sally port where an officer would drive their vehicle into the sally port, the door would close, the prisoners would be brought out of the car in a secure environment, no chance they could run through the walls and get out of the facility. There's holding cell facilities here, bookings desk, there's separate female and juvenile cells, one each, but they're interchangeable because they're both separated by sight and sound. And then there's 3 cells here for the, on the men's side. A small interrogation space, and some backup storage for the meeting training room, which is also in the plans to be the emergency operations center for the town, since it's right there with dispatch and all the radios. Next one. That's the roof plan. This is the second floor. This is all within the truss space. There's a few windows back here on the shed dormer, but there's about 5,900 square feet available up here, 2 stairs and an elevator access, so it's completely habitable. The site plan on Route 12, if you all recall the site, diagonally north of the middle school, we're using the same curb cut, and basically right where we have the existing gravel driveway, we're creating a public parking space for about 17 cars. This will support the public meeting function area. There's also a little bit of a walk to the middle school parking lot in case there's any overflow parking that needs to park over there, but we don't think so. The officers have a drive off of the curb cut that is there right now for the cemetery in the old Route 12, where it used to lay out here. And the officers come in the back. There's about 21 spaces here, about 4 under a carport. The side port was here. There's an impound area that's fenced and screened. The backstop is right here. I mean, we're pretty tight. We have screening here, all trees. And we have several water features, stormwater retention features, swales to retention areas here. We have several in-ground dry wells here, taking care of the water as it flows off in the different directions of the site. Another one? Yeah. There's several renderings we did of the building. There's this one, which is all brick, and the next one, which is a little bit of siding up here. This was actually the original one we had. We made a recent change. This didn't used to be there. We actually brought it out to bring more focus to the front doors, and we're thinking about the emblem of the town seal up here over the front doors. And this is a brick veneer building, wood truss, asphalt shingle, a little bit of cast stone, and aluminum windows. And if I can talk a little bit about the budget, but I'm not the budget master. Right now, the project is estimated to come in from bid about $4.18 million. And there's other project costs involved, but that roughly equates out to somewhere between $216, and $230 a square foot. And that's for building construction. Doesn't include site, because that's not a comparable feature. I mentioned that the project would be out to bid in about 2 weeks. The sub-bids would come in around April 17th, and Joe bids would be due around April 25th. We would have the bids in with a recommendation to the board before the May 7th town meeting. And we wanted to mention a little bit about the green features of the building. The building is wood framed, which saves, which is a valuable renewable source of materials. We are using low maintenance finishes inside the building, which is 1, reduces maintenance, 2, reduces chemicals, and prolongs the life of the building. Electrically, there's many things that we're doing, which is energy, but it's also just practical and common sense. All the office space have electronic ballast, high energy ballast. They have dual ballast, which allows you to switch just one light on or all the lights on in the room, so you don't have to have full power lighting if you don't need it. There are photocells on the exterior lights, occupancy sensors in the building. All the electrical equipment is Energy Star equipment when it's available. The mechanical HVAC system has a energy management system, a computerized program that will work with night setbacks and have quite a few energy features to it. It's a multi-zone system so that you're not heating and cooling all the spaces simultaneously. You're only heating and cooling the areas that are being used. A police building is a little bit different than a normal building because everybody doesn't walk out at 5 o'clock, so it maintains partial use all day long, 24/7, 365. So there's several features in there which we can't bring in, but there's some that we do that we find that brings back payment and life cycle payment back to the project. Another one that we do is a carbon monoxide sensor. Rather than running all the ductwork and exhausting all the air in the building, regardless of the number of people in there, sometimes there's going to be very few people in there, and you don't need to bring in the minimum quantity of fresh air. Every time you bring in the fresh air, you have to treat it, either cool it in the summertime or heat it in the wintertime to make up air. So you don't have a lot of make-up air expense when you're using a carbon monoxide sensor. You're only bringing the amount of air that you need based upon the actual occupancy of the people in the building that are using that. Several parts of this project also use, I'm not trying to use up too much time, use recycled contents. Many of the interior finishes have recycled contents, the acoustical ceilings, the carpet, the VCT, even the gypsum wallboard. All those materials right now, manufacturers are doing a wonderful job creating end uses for all their waste products, and we are seeing the benefit of that with very many products that we can use for this new station. So, thank you.
Thank you for that presentation. We do have one more segment. I don't know if my colleagues have any questions at this point. Does anybody have any questions about what's been presented thus far? Selectman Gallant.
The rough estimate that you used, does that include all equipment?
$4.18 million is for general construction only, and for the building. The site work is estimated, which is another part of the, which is a part of that, I shouldn't say, I'm sorry, that includes the site work and the building. What's not included in the 4.18 is the, all the soft costs, which are the architect, the survey, the borings, legal bonding counsel, printing, the clerk, construction materials testing, and then the furniture, fixtures, and equipment, telephone data, all of that. And contingency. Right now, we have about we're planning for a $200,000 contingency, and we have about 600 or so, I think, in soft costs at this point.
Yes.
So we're hoping to bring in the project under $5 million.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know if you, Mr. Manugian or Mr. Kaminsky.
Finance Director Donald Kaminsky is here, board members, and I've asked him to talk on the subject which I think most people are concerned with, which is what's it going to cost. A project of this nature, being a major construction project, is something that we could not do without funding the capital cost through a debt exclusion. Now, sometimes there's confusion about what that means, because people talk about overrides and debt exclusions, and there are differences, and I'd like perhaps Mr. Kaminsky could start with that, just to make that distinction. What we're talking about here is a debt exclusion to fund this project.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Of course, the proposed method of financing is what's called a debt exclusion, which is differentiated from an override, because an override is a permanent condition that will exist forever once it's approved by the electorate. The debt exclusion survives in addition to the levy so long as the project has to be funded. Once the project is paid off, the debt exclusion goes away, the levy returns to normal. So it's a temporary extension of the levy until the project is completed. And that's what we're proposing to do to finance this particular project, because as we all know, the general levy is under stress enough through what's going on in the economy today, and with the needs over at the school department and what we have to finance on an operational basis. This is a temporary burden for the taxpayer. It's not a significant burden, as you can see on the chart. It's 32 cents on the tax rate. We have run several schedules based on a borrowing of $4,750,000. Again, on the annual debt service projection, you're probably looking at the top amount that would be required to be funded by the taxpayer. There are several ways to finance it. One is through level principal payments, which means the same principal payment will be made year after year after year until, and the interest will decline every single year thereafter. So if you started off with $450,000, the succeeding years would be lower. In a particular case that we're using for the $4,750,000, we're estimating an interest rate of 4.5%, and you'd start off with $463,000. You conclude a 20-year debt service with the final payment being $261,000. The total principal and interest payment would be $6.9 million if you had a level principal retirement schedule. The alternative is to have a level debt service, which means each year is approximately the same in debt burden, both for principal and interest. In the particular case, we're using $385,000 over 20 years. The interest rate, because the risk would be higher, because you'd be carrying a higher principal over the life of the debt. So the interest is estimated at 4.75%. The total principal and interest payment over 20 years would be $7.4 million. The other proposal is a level debt service over a reduced amount of time, and we use 16 years, and then your principal and interest payment would be $6.7 million. And the market, although the federal government has been lowering the interest rate for the availability of funds to the banking industry, that doesn't mean that we will get a lower rate, because the risk conditions out in the marketplace are very high at this point. I'm open for questions. Anybody has any?
Can you speak for a minute, Don, on how this might affect the typical homeowner in Oxford as far as what they're paying on an annual basis?
Right. The 32-cent impact on a tax rate translates into, the average house in Oxford, according to the local assessors, is approximately $250,000. So the annual burden for the taxpayer would be $80 per year.
I'm handing out, if I may, Madam Chairman, handing out to the board members a copy of this slide, information from this slide, and a copy of this chart, which I think is our new assessor has put together. It's an interesting view of the property values. Now, these are residential, single-family homes, and this chart shows the distribution of single-family homes. It's difficult to see, I think, for folks at home, but I'll just go through it, that where you see the peak in the chart, that's where most of the properties are located, the largest number, I should say, not most. That peak represents 438 houses that have a value, assessed value, of between $215,000 and $225,000. Fully 80% of the single-family homes in Oxford are between the value of 185,000 and 315,000. Now, on that chart, which you have handed out to you, doesn't have every $10,000 increment, but that, it'll give you a range. What we're looking at, the average house, well, the median is 241. The actual arithmetic average value of all the single-family homes is $261,339. The 32-cent tax rate increase, based on this value, would be $83 a year. Now, given the distribution of property values, that is on the average value, the $83. It's actually going to run, 80% of the property owners are going to be, single-family home property owners, are going to pay between $61 more in a year, no more than $100 in a year. That's for the folks who own houses valued at $315,000. And we're going to this extent because in the past, we talk about the average house. There is no average house. There's an average value of houses. And so this gives people a sense of where they fit into that. We're talking between $60 and $100 a year for the first year to pay for the police station. I filled up my gas tank the other day. I have a big gas tank. It costs $60. A carton of cigarettes costs $50 nowadays. So if you put that in the context of what we do in our lives, you know, that $100 is over a year is not that big an impact, in my opinion. So that information is here, available. Hopefully the folks at home will agree and support this.
Okay. Thank you. I had a question, and then before I forget it, and this is to the chief. Chief, I know that over the last several years, well, certainly since 9/11, the communities in the Commonwealth have enjoyed monies through Homeland Security grants and those types of things. When we look at this project, what types of grant money have we tried for? What can we go for? I mean, prospectively with respect to this project. I know we got a tremendous amount of funding for our library. I know some other towns have received some aid for police stations, these types of public projects. Do we have anybody looking specifically at grant opportunities, and what can we do?
I spoke with somebody last week from Housing and Urban Development that right now they have money available, but it's for, not for new construction. If you have, actually Oxford medium income is too high for us right now, and we're not available for the type of monies that we would need. Homeland Security would offer money for such things as, generators and equipment and suits, and Chief Wilson has got some of that stuff already, but there's no money available for construction costs through Homeland Security.
How about for some of the soft costs that had been alluded to?
We would be able to, probably available for some money for like radio equipment and things such as that, yes.
And how about fitness equipment? I know that there is a proposed...
That I haven't looked into. As you know, right now, we pay through a project that we do in the Corps of Engineers. We pay for the facilities that the officers enjoy at the moment. We would have to explore that. I know, talking to other police chiefs, most of the equipment has been donated to them. That's how they outfit their exercise room.
Yeah, I mean, because when I look at that, not to jump topics on the grants, but, as long as we're looking at all of our opportunities, and I'm sure that we are, I mean, that's one of the things that whenever there's grant money out there, every little bit helps. But with respect to the fitness facility, I mean, is it cost effective? I mean, you've got, 3 decades of experience doing this. You know what guys go to the gym, what guys don't, how often those types of facilities are used. Is it more cost effective to pay for the memberships and you don't have to maintain the equipment, buy the equipment, lease the equipment, maintain that type of room, look for donations, who's going to, who would, I can't imagine that you're going to be getting $10,000 treadmills donated. Maybe you will, but that was one of the things that I thought of when I saw the fitness center, as far as, is it better to outsource something like that? I don't know.
Obviously, that's debatable, but you're going to have people speak to it on both sides. I don't know how long we'd be able to enjoy the facilities that we have there for the cost that we do at the moment. I've never asked anybody down there, to see how long that would be a benefit to us. I do know that a room such as that is used more often. We don't have many people doing the schedules that they have that actually partake in the fitness program that they're offering in Webster at the moment. It's much more conducive, in my opinion, to have that facility on site. Somebody comes in, they come in an hour early, they work out, they take a shower, they change, and they go to work. Or on the other end, they work, before they go home, they work out, they take a shower, and they go home. It's much more conducive to actually using the equipment if it's on site.
Because that stuff can get pretty expensive.
Yes, it can.
Treadmills, ellipticals, weights. That's why I'm
Yep.
just curious about that. Okay, and I had another question, and then I'll yield to Selectman Glant with respect to the cost to the average taxpayer based on these numbers that we have. I believe, Mr. Kaminsky, you suggested that, based on the numbers that you gave us and the different ways we could pay for this, it sounded to me that the 16 years level debt servicing would be the most cost-effective way, as far as the impact on the taxpayers would be over a period of 16 years versus 20, and the overall payment on interest and principal is the lowest of the three.
At this point in time, that's what I would recommend, but we'll have to see where the market is at the end of this fiscal period.
Okay.
We have to borrow. It might change for our benefit.
Thank you. Selectman Glant?
Chief, could you address, parents have had concern about the proximity to the schools, the middle school and the high school. Can you address that, please?
Well, I understand that a lot of people do have concern over that. Right now, the situation, in my opinion, is more severe than it would ever be over there next to the schools. We're approximately a quarter of a mile away from the schools as we are now. The facilities that we have are much more conducive to somebody escaping and getting on the street, and once they do that, we have to have a lockdown. So if they escape, no matter where we are in town, unless we know exactly where they are, those schools are getting locked down if schools are in session. The way the design of the new police station, the new facilities, they're designed so that the prisoner never, ever sees the outside of the building whatsoever. From the time they get in the cruiser, the doors are locked, there's no handles in the cruiser, they radio dispatch, the door automatically opens, they drive in, the door automatically closes and locks. There is no way out, there's no other door. They have to go into a holding facility. Right from that, there's only one other room off of that Sally Port, into that is a lockdown. They're in there and immediately locked down into a small room. Everything can be done from that room. If you have an unruly prisoner, he never has to leave that room. We can fingerprint, we can book him, we can take his picture, we can make arrangements for his release through bail right from that room. He never has to go another inch in our police station. And it's so well secured, the availability of them escaping from that facility is so much less than where we are now, a quarter of a mile away.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good thing they didn't have those when my father was a little bit younger. Mr. Selectman Sad?
I would just like to say that, it's a good point that people bring up about having the police station close to the schools, okay? And I guess it's a good point on what side of the argument you're on, okay? I happen to be on the opposite side of the argument. I think it's an advantage to have the police station closer to the school. Obviously, there are some parents that are afraid of that, for whatever reason. Now, God forbid, if you arrest somebody, and you don't have that many arrests in the course of the year, you don't have chances of having a major offender being arrested and wanting to leave the police station and escape and run over to the school, it ain't gonna happen. They're gonna be furthest way away from the school or that police station as they can get. And it amazes me because whenever there's a problem, like there's a bullet found in the school, or there's an attempt on a student by another student, or a teacher, or whatever, the parents say, the police department can't be there fast enough. You know, here they are, right next door. How much faster can you get there? To me, it doesn't make any sense. I see it as an advantage, and I would debate anybody who sees it on the other side, because I see a lot more positives by having the police station there for security purposes for the children, as opposed to not having it that close. So, you know, I welcome that argument anytime. And as far as, I want to change gears here and go back to the existing site. That site is just a terrible, terrible location for a police station, because we cannot expand. The town has grown since 1971, but that facility has not, and it cannot. The land itself that that building sits on is about the average size of a house lot in the town of Oxford. Now, here you have a building, a working building that houses 27, 28 people on a postage stamp lot that you cannot expand upon. It has no basement, there's no foundation, that building was built on a slab. I was there when they built that building, and it's on a slab. The thing is, the building is beautiful. You look at it on the outside and you say, boy, Oxford has a nice police station. And it is. You look at it from the outside and you say, we don't have to expand. We got a beautiful location. But until you get in there, until you see how the operation is handled within that building, you will suddenly realize that these people have been working under deplorable conditions for a long, long time. The time is right to do this. And I just hope that when the voters go to the polls to vote on this question, they vote with an open mind. This department has waited for years and sat back and let every other department in the community expand and grow. And they stayed the same. They took the back seat for a long, long time. Now, public safety is important. We all know it's important. But we don't know how important it is until it hits us at home. It hits us personally, ourselves, or our children, or loved ones. We have a prime opportunity to do something. The town has already voted at town meeting to give us sufficient funding to go out and explore this. We've spent, I believe, over $350,000 already, just on the studies. Am I right, Mr. Manager?
220, about 220.
220 on design and whatever?
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, the door has already been opened, and I would hope that they would continue to open that door a little wider when they go to the polls on, in May, because this is something that has to be done, and, you know, the time is never right, never really right. I know that we're in a budget crunch, but I think the manager has put it in a little bit of a perspective here when he said, you know, your gas tank. You go to fill up your gas tank and it's $60. You know, $60 a year for peace of mind, for giving people who protect you the environment they need to properly secure you and your family. I don't think it's a very big price to pay. And I am totally and 100% in support of this, and I don't have any qualms about my name being put on as supporting this at town meeting. I know there's been some question whether or not the town manager should be the sponsoring agency for this, or should the Board of Selectmen be. You know what? I'm a selectman, I was voted by the people, and I have an obligation to support articles that go before town meeting. That article should be supported by the Board of Selectmen. The Board of Selectmen should take a vote to show the community that we support this effort, for not only the police department, for the entire community.
Thank you, Selectman Saab. Selectman Coonan.
Thank you. I have one question, and I have some comments here. approximately how far will this station be set, will the police station be set off of Route 12? It had frontage on Route 12. I've seen that. But how far back? 75 to 100 feet. So looking at our now middle school, old high school, is that be approximately about the same plane?
Oh, way in front.
It's way in front of that.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
We're in front of the backstop. If you know where the backstop is for the
Softball?
Yes.
Right in front of
We're
that.
all in front of that.
Everything's in front of that backstop right
Right
there.
off Route 12.
Okay, so okay, I'm just looking at that. Well, because really what's important here is when you talk about location, the police department is a 24/7 operation for the entire town. There was discussion before, previous years, about why isn't it being housed down at the old Jocelyn School, that whole central area? Well, it's one thing going through residential areas, but we bring a lot of people to this town. A lot of good people come to this town, and a lot of people need the help of the police force for who knows what reasons. And that is going to be very visible and accessible. And I think that's what makes this location so desirable. Yes, it's right next to a school. Well, it's numerous school functions, be it a Friday night football game, basketball game. Sometimes you don't know who's walking at the door, walking through the door, and there are police officers there to help with that. Our officers are very, very mobile throughout their community. They do have to go in the station, but they go out in their quadrants, and they're very quick to get to where they're supposed to be. And I think location being centralized would benefits the entire community, and I guess more just, not just the community, but the people coming into the community that use it, and it's there as a resource. Secondly, I am total support of this project, is that the police department has waited and waited and waited. The schools came up and there was money for the schools, so they got bounced back again. I believe we did a library, we did a fire station, and credit to our officers, many stuck through those times down there, working not in the greatest conditions, to making sacrifice that work. Is one thing too, with a good building, with a good work environment, it allows us to recruit and retain the quality officers that we have for today, but also to the future. There's already talk in the building of being expandable. With the current site, as Selectman Sad told us earlier, gave us a history lesson, there was a fire that had to get thrown up quick. There was no thought about tomorrow. And you're seeing these plans going through them, the areas that, as the community grows, this will also continue to grow. It's a great investment. You hate to put any more burden on any taxpayer. But if you stop and you think, and the argument's going to be out there, and I know I'm going to hear it tomorrow, and all of us will hear it, I don't smoke and I don't drive, and I still can't pay my taxes. Is this board, we talked about last week, we've done a lot of steps to try and help people out. This is a project that can only benefit the entire community. As the police department, you stop and think how they benefit the entire community. You need them, they're there. And I think it's our duty as a town to support our own right now and move this project forward. If we wait, because some people say maybe the times are bad, let's wait and wait and wait. Construction costs are only going up. Rates are dropping. We'll probably do very, very good at the market. And I had a discussion earlier with the town manager, and Joe, hasn't other projects this size, are they coming in below projected costs, above projected costs, or right about?
Mr. McMillan, our project architect, has reported to me an experience he just had with the town of Paxton. And I'd like him to share that with us here.
Good, I think it's a great story for people to hear.
There's a number of things going on with the economy. As Mr. Kaminsky reports, we may not see a better rate than the 4.5 or the 4.75%, but because the economy is slowing, it's almost like this is, from what I'm hearing, this is the best opportunity to build a building. And I'll let the architect expound on that.
I'd like to describe an experience. just bid the Paxton Public Safety Complex. That was about a 28,000 square foot facility. We had estimated the cost to be about $6.8 million. And that was based upon other project costs that have been bid over the last couple of years, dollars per square foot, with a little bit in for escalation. When the bids came in, I mean, we had an unheard of amount of response from the bidders. It was a very competitive environment. We had over 180 sets of plans out to bidders. The bids came in at around $5 million. The town saved $1.5 million. It was, looking at previous projects that were bid in '05 and '06 and '07, we actually saw that the costs have gone backwards for over 2 years in a row. So we're in the midst of what would be a perfect storm of low interest rates and high contractor demand for projects. So we're bidding at the right time of the year. We're bidding in perfect conditions as far as I've seen in 15 years. So it's really good. We expect to hopefully, have the same amount of interest and competition for this project, and hopefully we'll bring it under budget.
Thank you, Mr. Manager.
Thank you.
If I may, when you presented a number for the building of 4.18 million. Is that based on historic costs of 2005, 2006, or your Paxton experience?
No, it is not based upon Paxton. We don't know if Paxton was a abnormality or what. That Paxton came in at about $180 a square foot for the building itself, no site included. We're estimating this project to be about $220. Paxton has some things that lowered their costs. They had the fire department, which, a quarter of the building, a third of the building was a large empty apparatus space, so that dollars per square foot is lower. But we would reasonably expect the cost to be less than $220.
Okay, back to Selectman Lamont.
Thank you.
Cronin.
Thank you. And just to wrap it up, and if you look at your numbers and you look at the need, and yes, the timing is right. And I really hope the people who support this project will move it forward and to think about the future. Think about the future of the community, and think about the officers that that work and the conditions they have, which were not the best. We don't see them complaining. We see they're going out there smiling their face doing their job. But now I think it's time to move Oxford into the future and have a building that it can never stand the same testament the officers do, but something that shows our commitment back to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Selectman Lamont.
Danny, I like what you just said, the future of the community. I know we're in an inflationary time where gasoline is high and milk and heat and oil, but unfortunately, inflation doesn't mean that we can stop recapitalization. We have a building that's hurting. John, you were talking about the old police station and how nice it looks, from the outside. Inside, we know it's junked out. Mike, I hate to walk in there. I can't stand the smell of your station. I don't know what that smell is. I never could stand it. I to this day, can't stand it.
Tell Tony to take a shower.
Remember, Tony's second shift. I'm in on first, Chief, so watch out. There you go, Tony. Anyway, John, you brought up the location, and I appreciated hearing that, because after having conversation with administrators from the school department today, they are not opposed to that location. Okay, they don't find that to be a bad location at all, which was something nice to hear. They actually support the location. One of the questions I have is, with SBAB money getting ready to be freed up again in the next year or two, Dawn, that means that construction companies are going to get busy again. And when we're busy, our costs don't go down. Our prices to you don't go down, they go up. We go with the highest payer, if you will. That's who we're going to work for. And Oxford's no different. People can be building lucrative schools, making money that way, and then they're going to stop to do a $4 million police department. The price will go up. And if we wait on this from today, what will happen? And I asked this to you, Dave. Where will construction costs be next year and the year after? If we don't jump on it now at 4.19, is it conceivable to say there could be a 10%, 12% inflationary factor? Right now, the price of lumber is lower than it's ever been. It's pretty much a commodity-type market. I know I'm building a guest house right now, and the price is cheap. The wood is way down, which is real nice. Where's it going to be next year? I don't know. It's as volatile as heating oil and everything else. I too, John and Dan, support the project wholeheartedly to the point of going to town meeting and getting out there and doing my job as a selectman, trying to talk to my constituents and tell them the importance of the project, asking them to support a debt exclusion vote on May 20th, should this board so choose to vote it that way. I'd be proud, John, as you say, to have the Board of Selectmen sponsor this article at town meeting. I don't need to hide behind the town manager or the chief of police. I feel that strongly for the project as well. I think it is time that we recapitalize, reinvest in our police department and public safety. The last one carried us 37 years. You know, maybe this one will carry you the rest of your term on this board, John. That's all I have, John.
Thank you. Just a couple, Susan, I'm sorry, Selectman Glenn, did you want to add something?
I did. I just want to also give my support to this article, and I know the need we have for a new police station, but I will not pretend to guess whether people can afford this or not. So while I'm in support of it, and I'm certainly in support of putting it on the town warrant, if it does not pass this time around, I just want to make it clear that I will not support putting it on the warrant again for at least a couple of years, because I'm not going to shove this down people's throats. That's been done in the past with other things. And I hope it does pass, but if it doesn't, I will not support it being put back on for a couple of years.
Thank you for that. I guess a couple things before I get into any commentary. Just about the project, if I could, to the architect. I've had, I've been looking at the plans like my colleagues have, and just some questions, because I know as we get closer to town meeting and people are going to have to reach into their wallets or make a decision about whether we can afford this or not. With respect to the plan itself, there seems to be, and I'm asking these questions because, I don't pretend to be an expert on what a new police station needs, but with respect to the conference room, number 17 on the first floor plan, I don't know if I've got your attention to it. And then that's off the chief's office, the proposed chief's office, and then there's also a meeting room at number 59. And I'm wondering, and there are also 2 interview rooms at 43 and 12. Is that, what is the necessity of, a conference room off the chief's office, which appears to be a decent-sized office, and then a meeting room, which appears to be a very big room in comparison to the other rooms, and then 2 interview rooms for, I would suspect, prisoners or detainees?
One of the chief characteristics of a police station is the need to have areas, secure areas where you can have private conversations. We're having conversations with a suspect. Obviously, that's under certain conditions. You need a fairly secure, robust space. You're also interviewing witnesses and victims and children. And you have areas where you need to have families waiting to see someone. You have situations where you have multiple suspects and you have to split them up and you have to interview them in separate spaces simultaneously and work one interview off against another. So there are many situations in the normal functions of a police department where you need multiple spaces like that. It's not unusual. We provide them in several different sizes. The larger space, the meeting space you were talking about, is one where it's for 30 to 40 people. It's a departmental meeting. It's a community meeting. It's an overflow work area. It's your emergency operations center. It's where you're going to go when things get rough. Those spaces are a real necessity. It's very difficult trying to console someone or discuss something in private if you don't have those spaces. The conference room would function as a secondary office, a future office. It could function, there's a lot of situations where you get into joint operations. So if you have the FBI come into town or another agency, they can set up in some of those spaces. And that's not an unusual situation.
Because, I can appreciate that. if you have 2 interviews going on, can you leave somebody in a cell? And, I don't envision our police department, I know that there are certain situations we have had bullets found at the high school and what have you, and that kind of thing, but, I mean, how often do we have two defendants in two different rooms and it's good cop, bad cop? And I'm asking these questions because the square footage seems to me that it's a lot for the size of our department, and I think I mean, obviously, square footage goes to cost, and if cost is a concern, and that's why I'm asking these questions. I mean, how much of this is absolutely by the books necessary, and how much of this square footage is, optimal?
I would justify all of it. In 1999, the town conducted another architectural study. It wasn't done by us, done by someone else. And they came to the conclusion the town needed 13,500 square feet in 1999. We are looking ahead. This is trying to be a 20, 30, hopefully 50-year building. So even if the space isn't fully utilized today, as in the second floor, we expect it to be utilized, and would like to utilize it in the most cost-effective manner. If you don't plan for the future, then the addition or the expansion that you need in the future probably will be cost prohibitive, and you'll end up scrapping that building and moving to the next site, which is not economically justifiable. So we like to plan and keep everybody on site. We like to look ahead and create those spaces within the facility. As far as, I think the chief can speak better to the situation, but it's not always suspects that you're interviewing. You could be interviewing 6 or 7 witnesses, and you really want to separate those witnesses so they're not, telling their stories to each other, so you're getting sort of
I
a
get it,
homogenized version of that.
I get it.
And the other situation, this is especially with the interview room off the lobby, someone comes in right off the lobby and they're a little panicky, they saw something, they witnessed something, they're a victim. You need to get them off the lobby immediately because someone else may be walking in jeopardizing that person. So there's one of the interview rooms which is directly accessed off the lobby where you can pull someone off the lobby and they can stay there until an officer comes from the back door and pulls them into the rest of the facility or just sees what the matter is. So the orientation of those rooms, there's one space there which is next to the detective, which is called an interview room, but it's a SANE, Sexual Abuse Investigation Network. It's a particular type of interview which has many different regulations required of it for taping and visually monitoring what may be certain situations with juveniles and sexual assaults.
And that's number 43 on your map? On the plan?
That's right here next to the detectives outside the booking area. So and there's a two-way window in there, and some of these meeting rooms and interview spaces have different functions and function differently.
Don't all interviews have to be recorded now?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
But this one is done differently and through the glass, so to speak, and it's done by several people witnessing it simultaneously.
Okay, and the other, and I'm just, these are just questions about spacing. The shower for the prisoners, I actually asked that comment before, I think, when I met with the town planner engineer, and I got a laugh from Mr. Donay, I think, somebody laughed about that. Is that standard, that they would have a shower where the cells are at this point?
About half the time, and even laundry is another common thing which you see. We don't have a laundry.
Yeah, I asked Selectman Lamountain about that.
Yeah, sometimes it can be added in the future if you determine the need. Right now, of course, there's no room that they wanted to have when they couldn't have it. But yes, laundries, showers, in different ways. I mean, you bring someone in, and I'm relating stories, who has vomited on themselves, and you must get them ready. They got to go to appear in court. It's not really a fair thing to take that person in those same clothes and bring them to court. You're just going to upset everybody along the way. So there are situations where you do need to, that type of prisoner does need a shower. I mean, you need them clean. You don't want to handle a person, I mean, we think about the dangerous people, but someone with hepatitis C or AIDS or some of the other diseases with the biologics are just as dangerous as a knife, and especially probably more dangerous because you've disarmed the person inside the station, but they can still spit on you, they can still do these things. So especially if they're bloody and the blood could be contaminated, you need to wash that off.
I don't even, I don't know if the question is necessary, in your expert opinion, given the current facility that we have, none of those things are possible to protect the officers or to protect the prisoners or the witnesses at this point.
Right, and whether or not you see that as a liability, that would be an opinion.
And just lastly, this was an issue that was addressed, believe it or not, in the existing police station, bulletproof glass for the dispatchers.
Yes.
That-
The glass for the dispatcher, even the records clerk, because you can, if you see someone, you'll turn around and shoot them, if you're so inclined. We have bulletproof glass and the wall around that glass, so you can't shoot around the glass, is bullet resistant. Level 3, level 44 Magnum.
Just if I may, for
Yes,
one
Chief,
minute,
please.
to,
Thank you for that.
There is, you talk about bulletproof glass, the way the situation in the radio room is now, the two big windows in the radio room look right out to Route 12. And you might think it's funny that we talk about somebody opening, shooting upon the station, but we have a bullet hole in our door right now, as we've kept it there for a few years now because someone did take a pot shot through the window. It actually came through the side of the radio room into the door in the hallway. So we kept that hole there just for a reminder. So when you talk about shooting an access and window access to the outside, it may seem silly at sometimes to some people, but it is a reality.
Yeah, and I mean, I remember when the issue came up with the dispatchers, I mean, we're talking probably 1998, 1999, and that was a concern that they had. I mean, never mind the access and the parking lot and the windows and what you've just alluded to. I mean, that was, somebody could walk right up and say, I'm here to report whatever, and pull out a gun, and that blew my mind, 10 years ago, that was the condition of the facility.
Which leads to another aspect of the building itself is there are windows in the booking area now that we have had people go through. They've either fallen through because of a scuffle, or they've climbed through the window and trying to escape. So it's just not a very secure facility where we are now.
Thank you.
In the liability, as you were talking before, the access to the public area, when we have, I'm sure you can see the liability that we incur when we bring people off the street to do normal business, when there's somebody of a dangerous nature inside that building to begin with. We have actually invited somebody into that situation. You can see where we would be held liable for that situation if something were to happen.
And that's in part where some of the questions, you thought you were telling war stories, but I mean, this stuff happens. You deal with people with HIV, they want to spit in your eye, they want to, there's all kinds of stuff that goes on, and the facility that's there is just, woefully inadequate to deal with most of them in this day and age. So I thank you for that. And my next question is to Mr. Kaminsky. Have we ever, I don't believe that we have there ever been a betterment assessment and impact assessment to some of the, for example, the Orchard Hill Estates, where there's no real estate tax per resident, or some of these other places where, there's a global tax on the housing, but there's no contribution to a project like this per se, per unit? No, we have not. Is that something that some towns have used, an impact assessment, or?
I'm not aware of any.
Because we talk about infrastructure improvements, sewer, water lines, and betterment assessments, and what have you, and I thought that I had, at some point, come across something like that. Okay, if I could, to the clerk, and maybe in conjunction with the presentation tonight, is it possible for us to get the data that was on the screen with respect to the actual median cost per household posted on the local channel, with perhaps a follow-up picture of the outside of the facility, which I think is beautiful, the way that it's being proposed? Can we do that? Maybe I should ask the town manager, or is this something we could get together with Access Oxford on? Because education is going to be key on this project, and I think that the more people see, the shelf life, if you see, hey, it's 89 cents, that's what it costs, 89 cents, or $89 in this case for the year, I think that'll be important for people to get comfortable with. Selectman Sad.
Madam Chair, I think you bring up an excellent suggestion here, and I would suggest that a presentation similar to what was presented to us this evening be put together through Access Oxford and run on the Access channel daily or weekly, so that prior to town meeting and election, people are well informed of what they're going to be voting on. I mean, there's a lot of information here that if a person didn't see and walked in to the polling place, would be totally blind. You know, there's a lot of valuable information here, and I think the chief's presentation in itself was an excellent presentation to show the public how important it is for that department to function properly, and why it is not functioning the way it should be, based on the environment that they're in right now.
I agree, and maybe we could supply this tape to Access Oxford, and again, even if it's just on our channel, I just think the numbers, I mean, because sometimes people will tune in, they'll listen to the architect for a couple minutes, maybe the chief a couple more minutes, but they really just, I mean, I think that if we can get those numbers posted and just have them running, in addition to that, you know, I mean, have it running on both
Yeah, because
channels,
one
and just...
complements the other.
Exactly, and just get those numbers out there, and then there's no misconceptions, and, because I think, I mean, this is certainly a project that it's evident to me this board supports, and I think at the end of the day, I hope that the people of Oxford have the resources to support it as well. And, you know, I know that there was mentioned political courage and not hiding behind the town manager, and that's certainly all appreciated to my colleague, you know, but for people at home who just filled their oil tank, courage doesn't put food on the table, but, you know, it's not to say that the people in the town don't recognize the need for a new police station and what it could offer to everybody. You know, in my opinion, there are certain priorities that government has. Educate your children, take care of your elderly and your veterans, keep your kids safe, and keep your streets safe, and keep your streets in good working order. And I think that those are really for me, the four primary roles of government. So we need an updated facility, you know, put aside, you know, I know we're going to hear, well, the police want this, and they want this, and they want this, and they want this big new shiny building, and it's beyond that. And people, hopefully, through the educational process, the presentation tonight, our leadership will come to appreciate that this is about the entire community and keeping us safe and keeping the kids and everybody else safe. So it's beyond all of us individually, it really is, and it's something that you can only hope that people see the global picture and come together, even in this tough time, because that's something that we're supposed to do. We take a lot of money out of people's pockets. There are some estimates that say 66 cents on the dollar between the federal, state, and local government. Well, that money should be used to keep the people safe, and this is a priority. It's something that we're supposed to do, and we're stepping up, whatever the consequences are, because we know that it's time. And I want to say to all of the gentlemen who spoke tonight that I appreciate the information. I know the board does. I thought that it was a very, very sound presentation, from the chief opening up to the architect highlighting the areas, Mr. Manugian, and then, of course, Mr. Kaminsky with the numbers, because that's what everybody wants to know. That's the information we need to get out there. And if anybody has any questions about this project, I would encourage them to contact the town manager's office. There are plans that have been available to the clerk, I want to say close to 2 months, if not longer. So those plans are available at the Selectmen's office. And though I asked questions about certain spacing areas and what have you, there's really no fluff in this plan that I can see. And if you think that there is, I'm sure that there are answers if you have those questions. So at this point, I will entertain a motion to place an article on the May 7th, 2008 annual town meeting warrant. And that article is in our packets. Essentially, it's an article to see if the town will vote to appropriate a sum of money to pay costs of designing, constructing, originally equipping, and furnishing a new police station, and for the payment of all other costs incidental and related thereto, and to determine whether this amount shall be raised by taxation, by transfer from available funds, by borrowing or otherwise, or to take any action relative thereon, sponsored by the Board of Selectmen, the town manager and the chief of police.
So moved.
And seconded.
Moved and seconded, discussion? Being none, I'll call for the vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, 5 in the affirmative, that article will go on the warrant, and in conjunction with that, I would entertain a motion to place a ballot question on the May 20th annual town election ballot, and it shall read as follows. Ballot question: shall the town of Oxford be allowed to exempt from the provisions of Proposition 2.5, so-called, the amounts required to pay for the bond issued in order to pay costs of designing, constructing, originally equipping and furnishing a new police station, and for the payment of all other costs incidental and related thereto?
So moved.
And seconded.
Moved and seconded, discussion. I do have a question with respect to the transition, and I think this is important because it goes to the vacant school buildings and what we dealt with over there. What are the plans, and I would put this to the town manager, if this is successful, what are the plans for the existing police station? And if there aren't any firm plans, what are we talking about doing instead of having a vacant building for a long period of time?
Okay, Madam Chairman, if we have a vacant building, we either reuse it, and there's been talk about putting the school administration there. We sell it. I don't know what we could get on the market for, it is in the general business zone, so it has potential as far as the zoning goes. That might work, or in worst case, we tear it down. I think those are the only three choices that we have. Hopefully, we won't have to tear it down.
Okay. Other than that, there's no additional discussions that have been had? I mean, you suggested the school administration. Are you referring to the white building that is in this parking lot?
The school administration is currently in the white building at the parking lot. And we had talked about, in the long range of things, a new police station, move the school administration, which is the superintendent and his staff, into the old police station, which would, of course, there would be money involved because it would have to be renovated to meet their needs, and then we could tear down the building back here and have more parking lot. But that's something that isn't going to happen all at once if you choose to make that happen.
Thank you. Selectman Glant?
Who was we? We discussed this in the past.
Oh, I'm sorry,
You
don't
know I
forget, I've
always
only
ask
been
that
here,
question.
not this week, I've only been here a little over a year. When I was senior staff, we talked about that. That was what we talked about in-house, but that would be the town accountant, the then town manager, when in my role as town planner and engineer.
Also, that building is structurally sound. There would be no need to tear that building down, correct?
No,
So there's only two options.
unless we let it rot, and I hope we
Done
don't
that
let it
before
rot.
With other things, yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Selectman Lamount?
Jay, you could always put it out to bid to see what the feelers are as far as prices go without having to accept any offers.
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. I just want to make sure that we're proactive. I mean, I don't know how long I know what happened to the Joslin School building. That did rot. And we were fortunate enough to turn the annex into a community center. So I think that that's important because people are going to ask us what's going to happen to that building. So let's make sure we have some answers. Okay. Call for the vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, 5 in the affirmative. We will have that on the annual town election as a ballot question. Any other comments, questions with regard to this segment of the agenda? Okay, I will move on. I thank you, gentlemen, again. Thank you for coming in and for the information and for the presentation. Mr. Manager. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Manager's report from March 18th. Under the category of minutes, request the board vote to approve the meeting minutes of February 26, 2008. Selectman Sad was absent. Pleasure of the board.
I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Seconded.
Seconded discussion. There being none, call for the vote.
Yes.
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 Abstain.
Yes, 4 in the affirmative, 1 abstention.
I also request the board vote to approve the executive session meeting minutes of February 26. Again, Selectman Sad was absent. Pleasure of the board.
Entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Seconded?
Moved and seconded, discussion. Call for the vote.
Yes.
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 Same.
Yes, 4 in the affirmative, 1 abstention.
Under the category of appointments, I've appointed Officer Jason Burdette as a member of the Recreation Commission to serve until the annual town election of 2013. Officer Burdette is a recent hire to the Oxford Police Department. He has some experience with Police Athletic League and had proposed as much to us, and we look forward, we think he'll be a valuable member of the Recreation Commission. We have spring bulk item drop-off coming up. And I'd like to take some time to talk about this, or to make this presentation. Sean Dival, our acting DPW director, announced that annual bulk item drop-off for this upcoming spring is set for Saturday, April 26th, and Saturday, May 3rd. And that'll be the 2 consecutive Saturdays, as we typically do, the north end of town on one day, the south end of town on another week. The hours of operation will remain the same, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. The bulk item drop-off will be located at the end of the Rocky Hill Road, what they call the Rocky Hill Road pit, at the town gravel pit, and residents must have proof of residency. Now, in addition, that the town of Oxford is no longer accepting burnable bulky waste. All burnable bulky waste should be disposed of at the Oxford Transfer Station located at 200 Leicester Street. There will be no charge on the days of the bulk item drop-off. Our arrangement with, I think the viewers, I'm sure the board members remember, but I'd like to remind the viewers that this is the first bulk item drop-off arrangement under our agreement with the Oxford Transfer Station. They will be accepting certain items at no cost to the town or to residents on those 2 days, the 26th and the 3rd. So please be certain to check the list of materials. If you look at the list, it's interesting, and hopefully it won't be too complicated. There are, this is available at the town hall. It's also on our website, and you'll see that there are some things that are acceptable at Rocky Hill Road, the typical or the traditional yard waste such as grass, leaves, branches, and so on. We're going to continue to accept the metals, air conditioners, appliances. We'll also take the computers, electronics, bicycles, microwave ovens, all of that kind of stuff, scrap metal. We will not accept batteries, beds, mattresses, building materials, car parts, all those things that you typically couldn't bring. But some of those things that we will not accept will be accepted at the Oxford Transfer Station. They'll take demolition and construction debris, household waste, if you want to clean out your attic or basement. They'll take furniture, they'll take clothing. They won't take recyclable items, which of course we will take. Pay attention to the list. Our hope is that this will run smoothly. It's the first year that we can take advantage of that arrangement with Oxford Transfer Station. This will be saving us, you taxpayers, a lot of money because we've been able to do it this way. For any questions, please call the DPW. They're at 508-987-6006, and check the website.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mann, just on that point, are we running this sheet that you've just referred to on our channel?
Yes.
Okay, good. That'll
Yes,
help.
that's, yes, and thank you.
No, I didn't. Selectman Sad?
Thank you, Madam Chair. To the manager, I know there's going to be mass confusion.
We hope not.
There's going to be people there that are going to be told, well, we don't take this. The guy brought a couch in last year, but this year he can't. And have to turn around, take it to North Oxford. I can see mass confusion going on here. Are we going to have town employees on site? Are we going to be paying any of the highway department people for being there?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we have to, that's part of our agreement.
Okay, and
They will
they're,
check.
and they're going to be able to police this? I mean, as far as telling people, there's going to be a lot of upset people, because you know what? Not everybody pays attention to a piece of paper that's available in the town hall or on the screen. They're going to go there, they're going to have stuff on the back of their trucks that, for the first time, they're going to be told that they can't accept it. So we might need some people on hand to handle those types of situations. I can see some police
Details.
intervention here, too.
We might have to go as far as, and I think because they typically line up on Rocky Hill Road, we might want to intercept people before that. I'll check with Sean Dival, make sure he's aware of that potential, and then let you know.
Can we post some kind of signs there somewhere at the beginning of Rocky Hill Road on what you can and what you cannot bring, like that list?
That might be a possibility, too.
Probably make it easier.
Selectman Corner?
Also as well, too, it's important to redirect people, go to the right places. I mean, maybe even if we have to get some dump trucks, some of our trucks there, the person has a couple things, hey, all right, get rid of your stuff here, and load up a pile, and just keep running the truck back and
Yeah,
forth.
I was thinking we might have to do both ways, because you might have people that do just the opposite
We both
and try to
ways.
take everything up to Oxford Transfer Station.
Exactly.
So we could run a shuttle.
We might be running a
We'll
shuttle.
haul stuff up there and pick stuff, bring back down.
And I hate to see this, the future of this, if they're gonna run the whole thing, would they be running the whole activity there in the future years?
So let's see if we can, we make money on recycling the metals.
Okay.
That helped fund the bulk, the disposal of the other things, the burnable things.
Okay.
It's not even spring yet, but it's time to think about the fall festival. They have to make plans ahead of time. And I'm sure Selectman Sad remembers from the Founder's Days, you've got to plan ahead. So request the board vote to approve the 4th Oxford Fall Festival with activities at Joslin Park to be held on Saturday, September 27th, 2008, from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Pleasure of the board.
I would so move. I would entertain a motion, excuse me.
So moved.
Seconded?
Okay, moved and seconded, discussion. Call for the vote?
Yes.
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 Yes, 5 in the affirmative.
I'd like to offer some reminders to folks, if I may. Once again, the deadline for excise tax payments is March 26th. The Collector's and Assessor's Office will be open until 6 p.m. next Tuesday, March 25th. That's the day before the due date. Residents must register to vote no later than Thursday, April 17th, in order to participate in town meeting and the local election. The town clerk's office will be open until 8 p.m. on that day. The last day to submit an article to be considered on the May 7th town meeting warrant is Tuesday, April 1st. You have until 4:30 p.m. And the deadline for submitting applications for the Hannah Harwood Scholarship Fund is April 1st. If you've already picked up an application, kindly return it to the Selectman's office before April 1st. And finally, Madam Chairman, board members, we have a request from the owner of property on Pioneer Drive for an article on the warrant for the May 7th, 2008 annual town meeting to change the zoning of her land from general business to industrial. I request that the board vote to include such an article on the warrant. We will provide the wording and refer the article to the planning board for a hearing. Pleasure of the board.
Would entertain a motion to put that article on the warrant.
So moved.
And seconded?
Moved and seconded, discussion. Being none, I'll call for the vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, 5 in the affirmative, that article will go on the warrant. Thank you. Selectmen's request, Selectman Lamountain.
I'll set you.
Selectman Coonan.
Thank you. I have one this evening. You hear a lot of comments, pro and con of the work that was done, that was finally completed on Depot Road. And what they've done, basically, they widened the mouth of the road. As you went further, they've done some I guess, statical work and clean up some line of sights. And looking back on this project and researching all the way through and going through from step one to the end, and it's been brought to my attention, and I said, and I noticed the other day too, is what we have failed to do is to reinstate that truck exclusion. When we did that project, there was never any talk to get rid of that truck exclusion. And Joe, correct me if I'm wrong on that one, that we've always had, that truck exclusion, the road isn't built to handle trucks, it's not wide enough. You're coming down, and especially now, and you see, I guess, out of force of habit, we were used to being one way for so long. Now you come down the one way, and now the trucks and the buses are starting to work their way back up that road. And I think it's creating, what we tried to do was create a safer atmosphere. And I think by failing to put that truck exclusion back in there, I don't think we have accomplished a lot. And I'll tell you the bottom part, but in that bottleneck towards the end, when the road really narrows down, I'd like to see that truck exclusion go back into that.
I'll investigate that.
Yeah, because I know it was part of that plan, and I think that should be back in there.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
Thank you. Selectman Glant.
I just have one, I'd like a follow-up, Joe. Selectman Sad brought this up, and I brought it up also about the trash being disposed of on our streets. It seems to be getting worse and worse, and I'd like to know if the police department have been issuing any citations for that, and if so, how many?
Okay. I'll get a report.
Okay.
How are you coming up with this? Is that it? Selectman Glant, thank you. Selectman Sad?
Yeah, I just have one thing, and it's like a broken record. It's behind the town hall here, the skateboarding. I was here the other day, and it was mid-afternoon, and I'm outside the back door, and there's at least 8, 9 kids skateboarding. We had a full parking lot there. These kids are bouncing off the cars, okay, that are employees' cars and people visiting. You know, it's just not right. And I know the police do all they can do. They can't be there 24/7. But what really ticked me off was, standing out there, I watched the mother drive up, right in front of the senior center building, drop off 2 kids with skateboards, and drive off. Now, do they think this is a playground for skateboarding? I mean, can we put up signs there or something? If there's signs, where are they?
There's one on there's a sign on the porch. I went out and talked to the kids at the senior center. It says no skateboarding. I'm certain it is.
Well, maybe we can get something on the scroll that reminds people that there is no skateboarding allowed in the vicinity of the town hall and senior center, that it's off limits. And I don't know if the warrant has closed yet.
No, it hasn't.
Is it possible to put an article on creating a bylaw to give the police some teeth to do something if these laws are broken?
I'll talk to the chief. I know we had talked about that in the past, in the context of having the bylaw in place once we had built the skateboard park. So the police could say, don't skateboard here, go to the park.
What about disturbing the peace? I mean, we can issue citation, disorderly, disturbing the peace. How about trespassing? I mean, we got stuff on the books if, I know Detective Marcelonis is here.
Call the chief tomorrow morning, he's already addressed that, and we're in the middle of working with something now. He can elaborate even more with you.
Okay, what we're being told, we're being reported to from Detective Marcelonis is that the chief of police, who has left the building at this point, has been working on this issue, just like Elvis. And he's been working on this, and he's going to have something for us. I guess he's got a plan. So, you know, if we want to take it back up after he makes a recommendation, I think it's a great suggestion.
I'll hold it for another week.
I'll get something
Thank you
from
for
the
bringing
chief.
that up.
That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just have one item, and this deals with the town manager's evaluation, which is coming up. We are, in fact, meeting on March 25th. I did confirm that with the clerk. We have a public hearing on the tax factor and the town manager's evaluation. I would just ask my colleagues, I know that we received the the evaluation format to also include, and we've done this in the past, and I didn't see it as part of the packet here, goals for the town manager. And I know that that's something traditionally that we've done, set goals for him. So I just want to make sure that we all do that. And again, I didn't see it as a specific item here, but I know everybody on this board has done it in the past, and I just want to point that out, so we're all ready to go on that. Actually, I do see it here. It's not a separate subsection. It's primary goals for the future, and it's on the page 2, so I see it there. Maybe in the future, we could tweak that and make it its own standalone section of the review, but, okay, it is there. That was my concern. That's all I have. If there's no questions or issues to come before the board, any additional business, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And seconded?
Seconded discussion. There being none, I'll call for the vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, 5 in the affirmative. We are adjourned. Thank you.